What's going on, horror fanatics? Zomboy here. You're watching Twisted Terrors. On this episode, we're going to be talking about 2019's Midsommar. This movie is starring Florence Pugh as Danny, Will Poulter as Mark, Jack Reiner as Christian, William Jackson Harper as Josh, and Wilhelm Blomgren, I probably completely mispronounced that, as Pele. This movie starts off, you're introduced to Danny and Christian. They're a couple. They're definitely very distant from each other, and Danny finds out that her sister has committed suicide and killed her parents as well. So she's going through these really hard times. Christian's friends are trying to get him to break it off with her, and he explains that he can't do it right now, that she just really needs him. Several months later, they've been invited by their friend Pele, who's from Sweden, to come to his commune, Harge, in Sweden for a Midsommar festival that only takes place once every 90 years. So this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, especially for Josh, who is writing his thesis in college on Midsommar. So they decide to plan this trip. This causes a conflict between Christian and Danny when she finds out that he's going.
Okay, well, just imagine if you were at a party and someone said, "Hey, what are you doing for summer?" And then my friend said, "Oh, we're going to China for 3 months and we're leaving in 2 weeks."
It's Sweden for
And that
a
was the
month and a
first you'd
half.
ever heard of it.
Okay. I told you I wanted to go to Sweden.
Oh, well, you said it would be cool to go.
Yeah, and then I got the opportunity and I decided
Look, I
to
don't
do
mind
it.
you going. I just wish you would have told me, that's all.
During this argument, he ends up inviting Danny as well, thinking that she wasn't going to go, and she ends up deciding it would probably be good for her to get away, so she ends up going with them. So they just got to Sweden, and they basically are hiking to this commune, and they get to this giant grassy field where they decide to sit down and take some psychedelic mushrooms together. This is another part where Danny just really doesn't want to, but she can tell she's she's being put in a weird place between Christian and his friends, and so ends up deciding to go ahead and do the mushrooms anyways. So they all take psychedelic mushrooms, and this movie has some really cool visual scenes, and this is where it starts, where Danny's laying in the grass and she's tripping out, and she looks down and the grass is growing through her hand, and you can see all the blades coming through, and they're talking about how they can feel the earth breathing, and they're kind of freaking out because this is a time of the year where there's not a lot of night, so it stays daylight most of the time.
What time is it?
It's 9 p.m.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
That can't be right. The sky's blue.
It's fine. It's Sweden.
That's not fine. Why is it like that?
It's okay, Mark. It's the midnight sun.
That feels wrong. I don't like that.
I promise you, it's okay.
I'm not okay.
And she all of a sudden starts having a bad trip, and she starts having kind of a mental breakdown, and you can tell the pain she went through with her family she has not recovered from, and she starts hallucinating and ends up running and passing out. They wake up the next day, which was only a couple hours of dark, and they start hiking to the commune again, and they get there and there's music playing, and all the townspeople are coming up and putting necklaces on them, flower necklaces, and they're feeling so welcome, and they're introducing them to the leaders of the commune. And this is another weird part where the head leader, you could tell he knew Danny was going to be there, and so he's kind of saying hi to everyone, but he pays special attention to her. And so they're getting walked around the commune, getting shown where they're gonna sleep, where the school is, where the church is. There's a big yellow A-frame building in the back that they're telling them is a religious building, is completely off bounds. You can't go there. They're introduced to a British couple, Simon and Connie. They are the guests of another one of the people that live in this commune. So they get settled down where they're gonna sleep. The next day they wake up to a really big breakfast, and these two elders come up to the table and are saying something in a different language and taking drinks, and everyone's kind of honoring them. And you really don't know what's going on at this point. So everyone's paying tribute to these old people. And at one point, in the middle of this breakfast, the girl that's kind of been flirting with Mark comes up and asks him to go with her. And so he disappears with that girl. And they all get up, and the whole town is standing below this cliffside where the elder female from the breakfast walks up to the edge. She ends up jumping to her death on the rocks below. It's a super gruesome scene, not only because of the blood and guts, but just the reaction of the guests to this commune. They had no clue this was happening, and so they are freaking out, especially Simon and Connie. They just want out. They don't know what's going on, and the main elder for the commune is trying to explain to them that this is a huge honor, and they've been doing this for hundreds of years, and it's just what they do to give back to the earth. They're all standing down there arguing about this when the older male from the breakfast walks up to the side and also jumps off onto the rocks below. And this scene is even worse because he hits the rocks but does not die. And so you've got 4 people from the commune. They walk up there with this big mallet, and one at a time they hit him in the head until he passes. And it is this scene, man, it sticks with you, especially if you don't know what's coming. So you've got Danny. She's super upset. She ends up going back to where they've been sleeping, and she starts packing a bag because she wants to get out of here. You know, she hasn't recovered from her own trauma, and then now this is happening. And you've got Pele walks up and is telling her to calm down, and it's okay, and it's just something they do, and that he understands how she feels. Not just because of what she just saw, but what she went through in life, because he lost his family in a fire as well. But he was able to find another family in this commune. And so she ends up agreeing to stay, and Pele ends up also telling her that he doesn't think Christian is right for her.
Christian could walk in.
He's what I'm talking about. He's my good friend and I like him, but Danny, do you feel held by him? Does he feel like home to you?
And that it is possible to mentally recover from loss and to find a new family like he did. So Christian at this point also decides he wants to write his thesis on the Hargay and is trying to figure out how he's going to tell Josh. Finally, he tells Josh that he's doing his thesis on the Hargay, and Josh gets super upset that he knew he was doing his on Midsommar, and he's put all this time and effort into it, and he can't just take his ideas. And Christian basically tells him, I don't care how you feel, I'm doing it on the Hargay, you're doing it on Midsommar, so is what it is. Their friendship pretty much ends right there. And then you got both of them fighting over information. They both want information for their thesis. They're both trying to get it first. And at one point, they're both asking for permission to look at their sacred book. And they both want to see it first. You've still got Simon and Connie. They're upset. They both are packed their bags to leave. Connie's looking for Simon, and they explain to him that they gave him a ride to the train station. And there was only room for one of them, so they'll be back to get her. She's super upset on why he would leave her. So she's waiting for the truck to come back to get her. You got Christian asking all these weird questions about incest, that how a small community can avoid incest. And so they are basically telling him that outsiders are sometimes brought in the commune for mating purposes to avoid incest, and that how that's got to be chosen by one of the leaders as given permission basically first. At this point, you've got Josh has been gained access to look into the sacred book. He wants to take pictures, and they said that's completely out of the question. So that night, after everyone goes to sleep, Josh ends up getting up and sneaking into their church and starts taking pictures with his cell phone of their sacred book. And he hears the door open behind him, and he turns around and he sees Mark walking towards him.
What are you doing? Close the door. We're not supposed to be in here.
And he gets nailed in the head by something. And then you realize it's not Mark. It is someone wearing Mark's severed face. Yeah, they went there. And the next morning, the elders are basically asking them where their friend is because their book is missing. And it's an odd fact that his friend's missing and the book's missing at the same time. And they're basically telling him they don't know where he went. So there's a really neat scene where they're gonna crown a May Queen, and basically what they do is they take this hallucinogenic tea and they go out and they play music, and the women of the whole commune, including Danny, dance around this big flowery pole until they collapse, and the last woman standing basically. And Christian's watching as Danny is outlasting most of the women. Danny ends up winning in the end. So they've got Danny lifted way up in the air, and they're hauling her to be crowned as May Queen. And then as she's being hauled away, some of the people come and grab Christian, who is tripping out of his mind. You can tell he is not all there, and they start bringing him somewhere as well. Come to find out, as Danny is getting crowned May Queen, you've got Christian, who basically has been given permission by the elders to mate with one of the local girls of the commune. So he's brought in, he's put a robe on, and they make him breathe in this weird smoke, which you can tell he just doesn't know what's going on. And they send him into this building where you've got a full room of all the women of this commune. They're all naked, and you've got the girl waiting for him on the floor, and he drops robe and is fully nude in this scene and does the deed. And all the girls are chanting while they're doing this, and finally at the very end he kind of freaks out once he realizes what's going on, and he runs out of this building fully nude. And he's running out, and the first place he falls down, and he's looking into a garden where he sees Josh's severed leg sticking out of the ground. So he gets up and runs to the closest building, which is a little barn out in this field, and he turns around and he finds that Simon hanging from the rafters by these ropes, and his eyes are missing, and he's got like flowers coming out, and he's dead. And he turns around, and the elders are there, and he blows the smoke in his face, where he ends up in full paralysis, basically goes unconscious and can't move anymore. And for the final ceremony in this movie, the commune leaders explain that the commune must offer 9 human sacrifices to purge itself of evil. The first 4 victims were Mark, Josh, Simon, and Connie. They were the outsiders brought in. The next 2 were the 2 elders that jumped off the cliffs, and then they're asking for 2 volunteers. So you have Ingmar and Ulf from the commune. They both offer themselves for sacrifice, and they need 1 more, and then come to find out that that is what the May Queen is there for, to decide who the last sacrifice is. And she ends up choosing Christian, and they end up taking Christian, and they have a bear, and they pull the bears inside out, and they put Christian inside of this bear suit made of a real bear and sew it shut, so it's just his face sticking out the front. and they bring them all out to that yellow airframe building that's been in the background of many scenes of this movie. And they open the doors, and the two people that volunteered get brought in, and you can see they've already got all the bodies of the people that have passed away earlier in the movie in there. They're set down, and everything's just covered in hay. And the last thing is Christian's brought in this bear suit and set down where they light this building on fire. So you've got 3 people that are still alive inside this building. They shut the doors, and then as it pans back, all you can do is hear the screaming of the people inside of this building. The whole town starts screaming with the people as they're burning inside of this building. And the last scene, as it pans out, is of Danny's face, and she's listening to Christian burn, and she has this huge smile come across her face, and she finds her new family. This movie's great. If you like A24 movies, then you'll like this one. It is slower paced, the gore's there, but it's just beautifully shot. The things I like about it is you have a lot of really dark things happening in this movie, but you have all this, the score for this movie is all really happy. And the yin and yang really works together to just make this really eerie feeling of being stuck in this commune and not being able to go anywhere. And the transformation of Danny going from being a person that is just in pain and feeling alone to being part of something that's bigger and basically erasing all of her problems on her way. This movie does such a good job with the tension, especially once it gets going. But this community starts off so beautiful, and man, it ends, you have a totally different feeling about them. But I highly recommend, if you haven't seen it, to go watch it. This movie, to me, it's one I watch every single year now. The best way to watch it is not knowing anything about it. When I first saw this movie, I knew nothing about it. I didn't watch the trailer, I just went straight into it. So I had no clue what I was coming into, and that made a huge difference. I really enjoyed it because by the end, I was just blown away. And that's the other thing I like about this movie is you think about it for a long time after you watch it. And to me, I really thought about it to the point where I was like, I gotta watch it again. And so I watched it a second time, and I saw even more stuff. You know, there's one scene where they're carrying Danny away to be crowned May Queen, and in the background, if you look in the trees, it is of the shape of Danny's sister with a pipe coming out of her mouth. I mean, those are things I missed every single time until I was told to look for it, and I looked for it. It's definitely there. There's a lot of scenes in this movie that stick with you. Cliff scene is insane, especially if you don't know what's coming. They did a great job on just this intense emotional feeling plus the gore. You got the burning scene at the end, which is awful. I mean, you know, they make it to be this beautiful thing that this community needs to do every 90 years. But I mean, the screams were awful. The whole mating scene in this, super weird. All these things you really think about after the fact, and they hang with you for a long time. And I think those are my favorite movies, are the ones that I watch and then I just can't get out of my head. And this is definitely one of those for me. So I highly recommend, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. Let me know what you think. And if you have any other movie ideas, let me know. I will watch it, and I will put it. I'll put a video up of it. So this is Zomboy. You're watching Twisted Terrors, and that was Midsommar. And I think I gave that like a 4.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. I really enjoyed it. So go see it. Let me know, and I'll see you on the next one. See ya.